CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
Well, if you are over the age of 80 and you are still driving, you know that that can be one of the toughest pills to swallow, losing your license. The argument is simple. You lose your license and you lose your independence. But what if you could keep driving but have a restricted license? Well, that's a question that a group of seniors on Main Island is trying to ask the province. They want to know why they cannot drive in restricted areas with a restricted license. Main Island does not have buses or taxis. It doesn't even have a traffic light. But it does have more than 1,000 people, many of them seniors, who depend on their ability to drive.
They need to be mobile. And if being mobile means that they have to take some type of special test to ensure that they have the capacity to continue driving under those conditions with very severe limitations on them, I see no reason why it couldn't be accommodated.
The group thinks it has the answer, and now it wants the province to listen. CTV's Joe Perkins will have a full report on the story tomorrow on CTV News at 5. Well, maybe some people should be riding the bus. Police say this is something they don't see every day, but they did yesterday when they caught a woman with a heavy foot in a school zone cruising through at nearly 50 kilometers an hour over the posted school speed limit. Police impounded the woman's vehicle after officers caught her doing 80 kilometers an hour through the school zone outside Quadra Elementary School. Police say it happened about 2 in the afternoon. School was in, and when the officers tried to pull her over, she kept accelerating.
So our officers initiated a traffic stop, pulled the 43-year-old woman over, and it was at that time that she was issued a speeding ticket for $368, plus had her vehicle towed. Now, our traffic sergeant said that he had never seen speeds like this before in a school zone, and he's been a traffic cop for a long time, so that certainly says something about how fast this vehicle was going.
Vic PD impounded the woman's vehicle for 7 days. They hope she slows down once she gets it back. Well, Valentine's Day dinner was a washout for a restaurant full of loving couples in downtown Victoria last night when the sprinkler system came on. Emergency crews were called to Rick's Grill on Government Street just before 8 o'clock. Witnesses said they heard a loud bang. Today, the fire department says investigators have found no evidence of a fire or explosion in the restaurant. Rick's Grill says it was a failed hood vent in the kitchen that overheated, and that triggered the sprinkler system.
Mechanical malfunction of our hood vent in the kitchen shut off, resulting in a rise in temperature, and that triggered our sprinkler system, and that flooded the dining room.
Yes, we have a considerable amount of water, as you can probably understand. These here systems are designed to pull a lot of water out at the time, just in case there is a fire. And so this is what we've done at this here stage, is we're in the midst of cleaning it up. We're removing any kind of standing water and cleaning up basically a lot of debris that has gotten wet.
No one was hurt in the incident except maybe Cupid. The romantic dinners were cut short. The restaurant picked up everybody's tab. Rick's Grill hopes to be dried out and open again by Saturday. The electricity is flowing, and a View Royal family's power struggle with BC Hydro has come to an end. Hydro crews were there today, reconnecting power for a couple who've been without it for nearly 7 weeks. CTV News first showed you this story Monday. They had done significant renovations on their home, but Hydro wouldn't hook them back up to the grid once the home was completed because it was connected to a concrete hydro pole that needed to be replaced. Last night, Hydro apologized for the delay and came up with a temporary solution. The house has been connected to the pole again until that pole can be replaced next week. The Vancouver Island grocery store is lending a helping hand to the Victoria Hospitals Foundation by squeezing in a little vitamin C. Thrifty Foods launched its annual Help Out One Buck at a Time fundraiser at its Admiral's location today. The campaign will donate $1 to the Hospitals Foundation from every 4-pound bag of certified organic Buck brand oranges. This year's fundraiser expects to raise money for a total of 7 hospitals on the island.
As you know, Thrifty Foods has got a history of giving back to the community, and Buck brand oranges is one of our biggest selling events of the year, so we tied the two together and we thought, that's great. If we can sell, for every bag of Buck brand, 4-pound Buck brand oranges that we sell, we're going to give $1 back to the local hospital foundations.
So right now we know we've got about $25 million worth of equipment that we need for the Patient Care Centre at Royal Jubilee Hospital, and we've been working with Thrifty Foods over the last couple of years to identify a special way for them to help us raise money, and this is what they've done.
The campaign will run until the 13th of next month. Well, a Vancouver Island dog has been recognized at the world's most watched canine competition. This is Misty Trail's double stuffed Oreo, or just Oreos. They call her at home. The 6-year-old pup and her handler are from Cobble Hill. And judges at the Westminster Dog Show awarded this Havanese best of breed. Oreo beat out 21 others from around the world. The best in show went to Maliki, a 4-year-old Pekingese named best in show after facing competition from 2,000 dogs representing 185 breeds. A couple of Airedales in there, but none in the finals. The owner of Maliki says the little dog will celebrate by retiring. A cashier working at the Wendy's drive-thru in Courtenay got a big surprise late today when a car came slamming into the building just a few meters from where she was working. It happened after 4 this afternoon. An elderly woman driving the car was waiting for her order in a nearby parking stall and said her vehicle suddenly accelerated, plowing into the side of the building.
I took her order and she came through and paid, and we were just cooking it, so I asked her to go park and wait, and then about a minute and a half later maybe, there was a sound like a really loud explosion and the whole back wall just sort of came into the building, and my manager screamed because we didn't know what was happening, and then we looked out the window and she was in the wall.
It was fortunate that nobody was hurt. A mechanical check will be done on the car as investigators try to figure out what caused the crash. The vehicle had to be towed away and repairs to the building are underway. The BC Ferry and Marine Workers Union accuses BC Ferries of giving high-ranking shipboard positions to workers who may not be most qualified for the job. Some of the positions have been excluded from the union over the past year, which changes the process for hiring. The union says certification rules have been relaxed, so people with lower levels of qualifications can take non-union management positions on board the ferries.
Up until that point, we've had a process in place where they promote the senior person into these senior positions, which were all within the bargaining unit. So we had the surety that they had the understanding, the experience, the training on the specific vessels. But now that they've gone to this new process, they don't have to go through that seniority system, and they can select any member or any person they want, whether they're a member or whether they're from the outside, to put them into these senior positions.
The union says morale is on the decline because of the change, and also says safety on board the ships could be jeopardized by the changes as well. An update now on a story we first brought you a few weeks ago on Vancouver Island Report about a Bayliner boat that had been illegally dumped in the middle of nowhere in the backwoods near Nanaimo. People in that area were furious that somebody was using their wilderness as a private dumping ground for something like this or anything. The regional district was angry too and made a public appeal for information as to who was responsible for this. It seems to have worked because the boat has now mysteriously disappeared.
It's no longer dumped in the back roads. That leaves me with 3 possibilities. I had 2 individuals, as a result of the media attention given the issue, approach regarding taking the boat for parts for their own boats. I gather they had boats of a similar vintage. And a third possibility, of course, is the individual who placed it there came to his senses and disposed of it appropriately.
Wherever it is, the regional district of Nanaimo is glad it's gone and says shining a spotlight on illegal dumping like this might be a good way to prevent it from happening again in the future. Well, a delegation of First Nations marched to the legislature today to make a public commitment to violence against Aboriginal women and children, as they are 3 times as likely to experience domestic violence as non-Aboriginal women and children. The delegation was organized by the BC Association of Aboriginal Friendship Centres. The director says First Nations men must take a leading role in changing the culture around violence, and today is a first step.
The pledge is for us as Aboriginal men to speak out and stand up and to be part of a positive change around ending violence against Aboriginal women and children. And it's long overdue for our men to take a stand and to show ourselves publicly, and that's what we're doing here today.
Members of the official opposition joined the group along with the Minister of Aboriginal Relations and Reconciliation. The demonstration today was more than just symbolic. The group met before marching to talk about tangible ways to end the violence, supporting both the victims and the perpetrators.
This behavior came from the residential schools, from colonization and racism. It was never in our culture to do this. It was always in our culture to protect the women and children in our communities. And so helping us understand and helping our young men understand where this behavior came from is an important part of effecting change.
The movement to end violence in First Nations communities will be symbolized by a moose hide campaign. Men will wear small patches of moose hide to show their commitment to end violence among First Nations people. Moose hide is central to many Aboriginal Aboriginal cultures representing humility, warmth, and strength.